Hi everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and welcome to literally the middle of nowhere here in Japan. So, Japan has so many different festivals, and one of them involves like these people wearing these costumes that look like monsters. And those people, or rather those monsters, are actually called Namahage. So Namahage, as scary as they are actually deities. Now in Japan, one of their religions, apart from Buddhism, is Shintoism. And so in Shintoism, the Namahage are actually deities, where it's said that the Namahage, when they visit your homes, they're actually looking for all the babies that are crying, that are complaining, and also for the wives that are not early risers, basically those who are slacking. So what they do is basically they come into your home and they're looking for this, like lazy people and the ones who are complaining and all that. And they are meant to scare the laziness and that procrastination attitude away. And they are supposed to bring like good luck, good health, prosperity, and all that. To be honest, in order to get here, it was not easy. I mean, let me just recount this while it's still bright. Okay, so get this. Because there's so much snow, you can see there's so much snow where we are right now. This is nothing. Nothing. Because where we came from, there was actually a snowstorm. So bad that all the Shinkansens, the trains, local whatnot, they were all canceled. In fact, when we were in the Sendai station, which is a major hub, there was a sign there that said JR East trains are canceled. Therefore, it's this domino effect of so many delays and whatnot. So you can see like all these local and international tourists just scrambling, finding a way to get to their chosen destination here in Japan. Well, thankfully, I guess the Namahage gods had blessed us for not being lazy, so to speak, and finding a way to get here. It's sort of like adjusting our sails because of the things that have happened. And it was good. So coming from Sendai, we actually got to go to Akita, because in order to come to Oga, you're going to have to go to Akita. And I reckon we were probably the first batch of passengers that had come from the Shinkansen. Even if it was delayed, it still pushed through. And right when we entered the station, it was pretty amazing. There were people who were greeting us, giving us these free gift bags with like the picture of the Akita there, and then they had this giant Akita like stuffed toy, and even a performance just welcoming all the tourists. Pretty amazing. So this is actually the museum where we are going to be seeing a show, basically how the Namahage, it's sort of like a theatrical performance, and that's going to be happening about in an hour. But for now, there's actually a museum right behind me, and why don't we check out to know a little bit more about the Oga Namahage. So you have here an artisan who's making like one of the masks that you see in the show, or also a handicraft that you can take home, just like the ones that you see here on the wall. So now that we are done with the museum, having a bit of a background of the Namahage, and the stuff I read online, it was that they were deities, but here, at least in the museum, there are actually 4 legends. But all in all, there is a part there where it reminds me of sort of like a fashion exhibition, if you will, but it is basically different costumes and masks of the Namahage all throughout like the different settlements in time. We're talking centuries, right? Apparently, there are different communities, for example, that would have Namahages that don't have horns, and then they have weapons, and then some don't have weapons, and some have horns. It all depends on the community and how they interpret their own Namahage. But all in all, because this area is surrounded by mountains, and supposedly these deities guard the mountains, they come from the mountains. So yeah, they storm into your homes, and in fact, there's sort of a small auditorium there where you can watch like a film. The tourists can actually watch a film, and they're showing I guess cultural shows like on TV of how the Namahage does. And I'm sorry, but it's a little bit violent, really scary. Like there are kids who are like freaking crying on screen because they're so scared. But basically the point is these Namahages, these deities, are supposed to scare off the kids and lazy people into get up and wake up, right? Look at this. So because we already have tickets, we're registered, and then they give us like a little, what do you call this, keepsake? It's a baby knife, sort of like the weapons that the Namahage would have when they're coming into your doorstep. So we're now entering the shrines. Oh, nice. Oh my God, that was such an experience. Okay, it was a little bit hard to record and tell you guys blow by blow earlier because there were so many people. Why don't we go through it one by one? So the show itself, because the grounds are quite vast, they actually post online the different spots of where the performances or the Namihagas are going to be at. And then right when we're actually watching the show, I figured, why don't I stay where there's a lot of cameras and there was actually seats, empty seats, and it seems like they were for VIPs. And evidently, at some point, like there were these people who just started to sit there. It was reserved for them. And you could tell that they were actually important because they were all like, well, most of them, they were actually holding like this wooden vessel. It's like a wooden sphere that's actually a cup. And I host events for a living. And the Japanese event that I had hosted before, they actually presented those wooden cups or vessels to a very important person, to the VIP, and that is where they are going to share and report some sake. I reckon obviously that they were very important. They had front row seats. As for me, I too had front row standing seats. So I was literally right at the barricade. I stood there for about an hour and 20 minutes until the show had started. And when the show started, you can actually see, I reckon, again, a very important gentleman is giving a speech to everybody. And then you have the female host as well, who's probably narrating what is about to commence. One of the things I do remember is because this is a spiritual experience for a lot of people, as we were waiting there, you could see that the Shinto priests, I'm sorry if I'm calling them, but the Shinto holy people, they were there up by the stairs. And from what I read online is that they actually blessed the masks. So that's why you could see there were masks on the table. And then there were all these holy people who were surrounding that table. And they were actually fronting all the Namihages, or rather the normal people in those costumes, who were right by the stairs. And as they were blessing them, and then they, to signify that after they had blessed them, the motion of putting one mask, and then everybody starts putting on the mask. So it's basically, I guess, like, even if it's scary, it is still a special, sacred practice, and that there's blessings to come from it. So yeah, that was quite magical, and it was honestly a very special moment. And then, so even if we were standing there and nothing was really happening, you could tell that there was other stuff that were happening in other parts of the area, and it was just a matter of being patient. But while being patient, you could see the hail pouring, not just snow, it was hail. You could see the hail actually trickling down in the seats. It's a good thing that I actually had a hood. I'm actually wearing 7 layers today. I knew it was going to be cold, not necessarily because of the weather, but it was because I was going to be outdoors for quite a long time. And that is why in the middle of the area, there was this huge bonfire. As to whether that was part of the performance or it was also to keep everybody warm, it surely did help. There was a lot going on. I think one of the highlights of the show was when the Namihages were actually at the top of the hill. And then you can see like their torches were like lighting up from the forest above. And as they were descending down, it was really, really cool. It really is like a parade of fire, of deities going down from the mountain, because technically that's what they are. The Namihages are deities that supposedly, as legend says, protect the mountains, and that they're descending down to the earth, to the grounds, to meet with the people. So it was nice that they were blessing the kids. Even the holy Shinto people were blessing us with like those leaves. In a way, I kind of see it like Palm Sunday during Holy Week for Catholics at Pagaspas. So yeah, very many similarities. But to me, my favorite part, it had to be the percussionists. Those drum players, especially the girl, like you could tell from my videos, I was quite far because, like people were slightly pushing, like still polite, but slightly pushing. It was hard to get a really good view of the percussionists. I tried to get the best view as I can. You can tell like my shots were kind of wobbly. But at the same time, though, it was just watching that girl. Like, that is a serious arm workout. It was really, really cool. And at some point, I was so cold, and my body was okay, but my hands were freezing. And I just started like tapping to the beat of that percussion. It was like dancing. It was really, really amazing. And then eventually I found my way to the bonfire. And I actually found myself on screen because I was probably the only person in gold. And I was waving to myself just to commemorate that I was here in Oga for this festival one day. The most magical thing for me, it wasn't even so much the show. It was standing in the rain and then experiencing hail, and then you're surrounded by the elements. Like it was this big bonfire. And then you have the shrine right beside you where people pray and venerate. And then you're also beside like the hills and mountains. And then suddenly you have like all these performers coming down at you, and even Shinto priests blessing you, all at the same time, while my fingers were freezing, but my butt was melting because I was beside the fire. It was really all the elements of like, oh my God, this is happening right now. So this is why I travel. This is why I love Japan, and this is why I love cultural experiences. So until our next one, I'm Bianca Valerio. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye guys.